It's back to the mountains today to see more outrageous customs, like these two chopped Hudsons. And yes, we did say Hudsons. All that and more coming up today on World of Collector Cars. World of Collector Cars is made possible in part by
Kimberly-Clark, makers of Noah, and now new Dust-Top softest flannel fabric. Dust-Top is the newest fabric from Kimberly-Clark, featuring incredible softness and breathability, plus 4 layers of protection for your pride and joy. Noah and new Dust-Top car covers from Kimberly-Clark. Rare Parts of Stockton, California. Rare Parts supplies suspension parts for all vehicles from 1930 to current year models, specializing in collector car suspension and small run manufacturing. Rare Parts, available through jobbers and repair and restoration shops across the country.
The World of Collector Cars is funded in part by Steel Rubber Products. Steel Rubber Products, manufacturing weather stripping and molded rubber parts for Chrysler Corporation, Packard, Independence, and General Motors Cars and Trucks. Steel Rubber Products, making parts for fellow hobbyists for nearly 30 years.
Introducing the new Exide Orbital maintenance-free battery. The Exide Orbital has been dropped, dragged, and drilled to prove it's tough enough for anything and perfect for your collector car. The new Exide Orbital battery.
When we originally headed up to the scenic, beautiful mountain community of Susanville, one of the cars that we had planned to look at was a Hudson with gull-wing doors. Well, finding that car was as elusive as getting an interview with Sasquatch. But we did find 2 of the sweetest chopped Hudsons in the country. This first one is owned by Norm Willingham.
Norm, the 52 Hudson that we talked to you about a little bit earlier, it was pretty much stock, and this 53 here is not, right?
No, it isn't stock. It's been customized.
Quite a bit, too.
Yes, it's what they consider a radical custom. It has the chopped top, lowered suspension, different running gear. It's pretty much changed.
Up here in front, let's just talk about some of the changes. Obviously, the grill is not all Hudson, or at least it looks like you've removed part of it.
No, the grill, the center section of the grill is 54 Pontiac. The end pieces are 54 Chevrolet. The headlights are 55 Chevrolet. The hood corners have been rounded, and the bull nose in the front has been spread out, all to give it a different flow than the original line.
So there's actually no Hudson here left in front, is there?
Front bumper stock.
Okay. All right, now going to the hood and the roof and the roof line, the windshield.
Windshield's been this particular Hudson's been chopped 3 inches from its original window height, which was pretty low anyway. The sun visor is an original item, as is the placement for the radio antenna. So it's the silhouette's been lowered about 3 inches on this top.
Now, it's kind of interesting to note the similarities between these chopped Hudsons and Mercs.
Yeah, they look a lot alike. A lot of people mistake the Hudson for a Mercury because not a lot of people do a Hudson. There are a lot of Mercs out there, but we've only seen 6 chopped Hudsons. I'm sure there's more out there, but I don't know where they're at.
So we're up here in the front, Norm. Can we ask you to open that hood and take a look at the engine?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Looks like something fair-sized in there.
Yeah, that's the 1970 Buick 455 we put in this one. It's a new engine, but it's built stock. It has plenty of power with 455 cubes.
What kind of carburetor are you running?
And that's that aftermarket Holley. I think they call it a 1040. It replaces a Quadrajet. Easy to work on. We have the air conditioner in this one. That works good for the summer months with a black car.
Now 455, that seems like, was that a pretty tight squeeze getting it in there?
No, it's a real easy application. The Buick engine and transmission, we use the Turbo 400 also, and that fit real well. We only had to build the front motor mounts and transmission mount, and it missed the pitman arm, missed the steering box. It sits in there real well. Easy application.
Interior-wise, you get some real nice upholstery there.
Yeah, we use the Naugahyde with the wide pleat tuck and roll as they did in the 50s. So it'd give it kind of a 50s flair. The dash is all original. We use the original instruments in it. They've been converted to 12 volt and they all work. It has air conditioning. Car handles real well with that suspension. We have the aftermarket air conditioning in it. So it's comfortable in the summertime.
In the back of the Hudson, in the back seat, they had something that was kind of interesting. It was even called something kind of interesting, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was called a child divider rather than a armrest, and about a foot wide and possibly a foot deep. There was a unit that slid out, unfolded, and that was to, according to the brochures, to keep the children separate.
Keep the sibling rivalry to a minimum, right?
I suppose, yeah.
Now, in the back of the car here, looks like you've done a little bit of shaving and customizing back here.
Yeah, we took the original chrome off the trunk, and the taillights there, they're original Hudson taillights, except we took them out of their chrome housing, turned them upside down, and Frenched them into their quarters.
And then there is Walt Reynolds with a beautiful 51 Hudson.
Walt, between you and Norm, you guys have got some great-looking chopped Hudsons. How long have you had this one?
I bought this one in the winter of '88 and started working on it then.
Did you kind of get the bug from Norm?
Yeah, he was a big influence, and so I really enjoyed his black car, and so I decided I got to have one of those. And so we started looking for a coupe, found one, and got busy.
This is a 51, right?
Yeah, this is a 51 Commodore 8.
And what are we running in this car?
And this one's running the Buick 455 in it. They fit in these cars so well that we couldn't see any reason to do with anything else. Of course, after I put it in, gas went to $1.65 a gallon, so I was wondering what a wise choice that was. But it handles good and actually gets pretty decent mileage, about 18 miles a gallon, so that's not too bad.
Suspension-wise, what have you done to the car?
Basically, it's stock suspension. These cars handled excellent from the factory, and all I've done is cut a coil to drop it and put some lowering blocks in the back, and now it's down on the ground where it belongs.
They're really cool looking. Looks like you've got some. Well, let's just talk about the interior since we're sitting in here first, and then maybe we can get back to the engine, some of the outside. Inside here, it looks like you've added some air conditioning.
Yeah, I put air conditioning in it. We wanted to go cross country to Alabama where it was nice and hot, so we threw in some air conditioning to make that trip a little bit more comfortable. Other than that, the interior is basically stock. I have the stock radio in it, and I'm getting ready to set up the buttons kind of like he did his Buick to open the doors and trunk and stuff like that. And then I have a stereo in the glove box, so that, 'cause I like the 50s look. I don't want a high-tech stereo hanging out the dash. So.
Is that the original placement on the speaker grill up there?
Yeah, that's a original Hudson speaker grill on the front. It was pretty unique, actually.
Of course, the original map light up there.
Mm-hmm.
All the other gauges look pretty much stock.
Yeah, they're all stock.
Tranny on this, what do you run in that?
I'm running the Turbo 400 in it. It came with the Hydromatic, the 4-speed originally, but I went with the Turbo 400, and it's got lots of, it holds up to that Buick 455.
And interior, and the seats, you too have I see the child divider in the back.
Yeah, it works well.
You got your kids.
Yeah, we got the 2 kids, and it kept them apart on the trip to Alabama. But it's basically stock interior, although I've used the Naga hide for endurance so that it would last, with the kind of tuck and roll design. But Hudson did such a fine job that couldn't hardly improve on it.
Back to that engine, you were talking about the cooling system. You've beefed that up a little bit.
Yeah, I went to a newer style 4-row type radiator, so it cools well. And then I like the idea of an electric fan. That way you're not pulling the extra horsepower when you don't need it, and keeps me cool and helps boost the gas mileage a little bit too.
Now you'd be cool in this car without that.
Yeah. With the wheels, I like the chrome smoothies, and so I went that way, and then also went with the wide white radials that they make now. So I have the decent look and the decent ride both, and both of those are important.
Norm was talking about that a little bit, and that is kind of important, running radials on these old cars, because they do handle a lot better, don't they?
It's incredible the difference. I drove this car probably 15,000 miles with bias ply, then put the radials on, and it's a whole new car.
It's pretty scary with those old bias ply tires.
Well, yeah.
Outside here in the car, you've done a lot of work on the chopping and everything. Just tell us a few of the changes here.
Okay, well, we'll work our way down. On the top, we've taken 3 inches out of it, which is lowered it quite a bit. I shaved the rain gutters on it. I like that smooth look on the top. And then the door corners, the 3 door corners have been radiused so that they're nice and round and smooth. Then also did that on the fender skirts. They were square originally, but we rounded off the corners on those. All the different body seams have been welded in and filled, so that once again have the smooth look. The chrome that was around the windows, we opted to get rid of that and just roll it in the edges there. Then I just can't get away from those 55 Chevy headlights, so we went with that theme on the car also. And then for the grill, I went with a 53 Chevy, and it was incredible how it fit. You could almost bolt the grill into place, but I welded it in, smoothed it off. Originally I ran a 53 Chevy center grill without any teeth, and then one day I was playing around with Norm's 49 Buick grill and kind of stuck it in there, and that was a neat look, so I went ahead and made that change. The corners on the hood have been rounded, once again to follow that type of theme. It's basically been de-chromed throughout on the hood, trunk, those different areas. The tail lights have been got rid of the old Hudson tail lights and went to the 59 Cadillac that had been tunneled in, and with the 2 of them, one stacked on top of the other. I got rid of the gas door and put the filler neck into the trunk so that the car has an overall just real smooth appearance, not much to break up the lines. And that's about it on body modifications.
And then it was back to Norm, and a more mild version of a hot-rodded 1950 Chevy.
Norm, we're sitting in your latest restoration, and this is a 1950 Chevy, and you said you just completed this, right?
Yes, I just finished it. I built it for my daughter. She lives in Reno, and she's always wanted a 50s style car. So I built her this little 50 Deluxe Coupe.
Very nice job. A lot of stock-looking components still on it. What about the engine? Have you done anything? Well, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go over the interior here first. It looks like there's mostly stock, but I see a different-looking shifter down there, and also a different sound system, maybe.
Yes, I did away with the original sound system to put in the Sony tape player. I'm not really into the late model stuff, so I built a cover so I can hide it. I can still enjoy it, but it hides. The floor shifter is mainly because of the late model automatic transmission. Steering, suspension is original. Steering wheel is stock. All the dash instruments are stock and original, except they've been converted to 12 volt.
As far as the interior, it looks very 50-ish. I like the color scheme. It matches the paint job almost perfectly, I think.
Yes, it's done in Naga hides. I use Naga hides for the wear factor, and it's done in the 50 style with the little bucket inserts that have the tuck and roll inserts in them.
Now, under the hood of this car, it's definitely not stock, is it?
No, we took the little stove bolt 6 out and put it in a 69 Chevrolet 327. And it runs well. It's a stock motor, but it came with 325 horses when it was new, so it has plenty of power. Single 4-barrel, dual exhaust.
That ought to be a lot of power for this car, because this car was never a very heavy car, was it?
No, they light car, so it's economical too. I haven't checked the mileage, but I'm sure it'll be economical with a stock 4-barrel manifold and the weight of the vehicle.
And of course, we couldn't forget Walt's beautiful 54 Chevy, a mild custom itself.
Walt, tell me how long you've had this car.
It's about 2 years. Bought it 2 years ago in April.
How long has it taken you to kind of get it to the shape it's in now?
2 years in April.
All right.
Yeah, it's been about that long. I'm still working on it. Just got a few little things to finish off, but we're real close.
Now it's 54 Chevy, and it's not really stock. I see a lot of changes. Can you just kind of describe a few of them?
Well, we'll start with running gear. It has a Nova subframe, so it has power brakes, power steering. I put a 350 Chevy with the 700 R4 transmission in it, lower gear, higher the overdrive. So hopefully I'll get some economy out of it. It's been lowered all the way around, so it sets pretty low to the ground. Actually, it started out as a 53 Chevy, but I liked the 54s better, so I stuck a 54 nose on it, 54 taillights, and I've added teeth to the grill. It has 55 Chevy trim rings on the front, which is kind of different. You don't see very many 54s done that way. The front fenders were welded in, and the front of the doors were rounded to kind of go with the rest of the flow of the body. The rear tail lights are custom. Other than that, it's basically stock, just fixed up pretty nice.
We're sitting here inside the car right now, and let's talk about some of the changes in here, maybe.
Okay, it has the automatic now, and I've put one of the few Ford parts in this Chevy, a Mustang shifter in it. What's kind of unique here is I have an updated stereo in it. Notice the different speakers that are in here, and I have the stereo hidden behind the old speaker grill, so it's not so obvious, as I like to maintain the old appearance, and yet I still have the old radio in there, so when the person looks in, it looks basically stock. The upholstery's been done in tuck and roll velour, all very nice job by the upholsterers that work next door to me. I've got electric windshield wipers on it, added lights, air conditioning, just a few minor things like that.
Now, inside also here, I see the map lights down there. Are those original?
No, I was stolen out of a Ford truck, and added it there so it'd be more convenient. This is going to be my wife's daily driver, and so try to give her all the more modern amenities so it's comfortable for her to drive. The etching on the wind wings there was done by a friend that was a friend of my wife when she was a little girl down in LA, and then she moved up here, we married, and we moved next to his niece. And so he did that as a favor. He's an artist and a local car enthusiast, and just did that as a favor to her. And one day just stopped by and said, "What's she like, butterflies or hummingbirds?" And so it was a very nice touch, I thought, for the car. For the wheels, I chose the chrome smoothies, and I'd love to go the wide whites, but I wasn't able to this time, so we went with the narrow whites, the radials, so we have a decent ride.
How about getting back to the engine on this car? It's definitely, you said you replaced the original.
Yeah, it came originally with the straight six, and I've put the Chevy V8 in it. It's a 350. It's got a little bit updated heads with the 194s and a little bit of an RV cam in it. Nothing real radical. 4-barrel. Wanted it to be a good daily driver, so I didn't want to go too radical with it. Just something that would be fairly economical. Haha.
like to thank Norm Willingham and Walt Reynolds for their hospitality. And if you ever get to Susanville, look for some cool customs. World of Collector Cars is brought to you by
Kimberly-Clark, makers of Noah, and now new Desktop softest flannel fabric. Desktop is the newest fabric from Kimberly-Clark, featuring incredible softness and breathability, plus 4 layers of protection for your pride and joy. Noah and new Desktop car covers from Kimberly-Clark. Rare Parts of Stockton, California. Rare Parts supplies suspension parts for all vehicles from 1930 to current year models, specializing in collector car suspension and small run manufacturing. Rare Parts, available through jobbers and repair and restoration shops across the country.
The World of Collector Cars is funded in part by Steel Rubber Products. Steel Rubber Products, manufacturing weather stripping and molded rubber parts for Chrysler Corporation, Packard, Independence, and General Motors Cars and Trucks. Steel Rubber Products, making parts for fellow hobbyists for nearly 30 years.
Introducing the new X-Side Orbital maintenance-free battery. The X-Side Orbital has been dropped, dragged, and drilled to prove it's tough enough for anything and perfect for your collector car. The new X-Side Orbital battery.
Gotcha.